Today we're looking at a fast forward supercharger kit, which we're going to be putting on this beautiful 1996 M Edition Miata. This is a customer that we've been working with for probably the past year and a half or 2 years, getting this thing ready to go for the track. Got coilovers, sway bars, and recently we upgraded the brakes to the Willwood big brake kit. This is the 949 or Super Miata brake kit, which generally is a bit overkill if you're just taking your stock power Miata to the track. But that was done basically in preparation for the next edition. So the goal for this car is basically a well-prepared track car that's also completely mild-mannered, usable street car as well, which is something that a lot of people try to achieve. It's a pretty difficult mix to get overall. So with that in mind, keeping it sort of simple, straightforward, usable street car, the power we're going to add is coming from a fast forward supercharger. This kit is one of my favorites in terms of just a true bolt-on, no tuning needed, just reliable, and hopefully something that the owner won't really have to fuss with too much. He usually comes here, a couple times a year between track events, check up on things, and we're hoping to not add a whole bunch of additional things that we need to look after. But he was very interested in adding more power, so this is what we're gonna go with. This being the intro video, we're just gonna do kind of a quick overview of what comes in the box, kind of an unboxing video, and then we're gonna have some more videos in the coming weeks as we get this installed, and we'll show some of the various steps that we're gonna do. This is the supercharger itself. And right away, just from looking at everything in this kit, you can start to see why the kit is expensive. I think they start around $6,000, which is a little bit shocking at first. But when you start looking at everything here, you really get a sense of how much custom stuff there is. There's this whole wire harness that we're going to look at in a minute. And it really gives you the impression that this is something that could be done in anybody's garage. It really doesn't look like it's going to require any special tools. They even provide a couple of tools. There's some Allen wrenches. There's a ratchet, kind of extends. Haven't gotten that far yet to see exactly what that's going to be needed for. Hopefully, I've got what I need anyway, but it's really just, as I was opening this up, an impressive level of completeness. There's even a kit included in here for relocating the cruise control. There's a whole bracket. So there shouldn't really be any custom fab or anything special required. So we're really excited to dive into this and see if that's true. But this is one of my favorite supercharger kits because it's unique compared to several of the others on the market, that it actually does replace the intake manifold. So you see there's this cast section at the bottom here that will actually bolt directly to the cylinder head. And so now this will be what's considered a cold side supercharger, so it'll be away from the exhaust manifold, and despite its large size, it doesn't really add as much to the engine bay because you're removing the entire intake manifold. So then it has its own throttle body at the back here. Then of course on the front, you got the pulley, and then there's a mount down there for the tensioner, which is another thing I really like about these kits, is that it uses an off-the-shelf auto tensioner. I think this might be from a GM vehicle, but this is something that you can get at a parts store, and it uses a proper sized belt. This is a 6-rib belt versus most of the other ones, which uses a modified version of the AC and power steering belt that's already in the Miata. which is clever, but those ones are only a 4 rib. And because of that, you're limited on the width of the pulley, and it just seems like some of the other kits you have issues with tearing up belts or them slipping on the pulley because they're just a little bit narrower. So again, really just from an engineering standpoint, I really like that. And then to make use of that belt, there's an additional pulley that will bolt onto the crank pulley of the Miata. And again, this is all custom billet piece. You can really see where the value, and then it's reflected in the price, of course, but you can see where all that comes from when you start to dig in here. So yeah, this pulley will bolt on and add an additional rib, so you won't end up modifying or needing to do anything with the stock belts that are in the Miata. So that's a nice touch. There's a custom fuel rail. There's a custom fuel rail as part of the kit. Lots of additional brackets. To be honest, I'm gonna have to look at the instructions. I don't know exactly what this one's for. But all the hardware, I mean, they really go through everything in this kit. I thought at first this was the instructions when I opened it up, but it's actually 5 pages of inventory. And you can see they actually went through, made sure every single thing is in the box. We're gonna double check that, of course. But just excellent attention to detail. Again, we've got package on package here, all this vacuum sealed stuff, custom brackets, got a whole bag here. We've got spark plugs, anti-seize, gaskets, clamps. I mean, they really have gone to the next level to make sure that you don't get partway through this and need a bunch of other stuff. So again, we talked about the cruise control relocation kit, additional couplers, air filter, and then there's this heat shield that will be installed to keep the exhaust heat away from the intake. And then we've got the electronics box, which when we're doing the install, we'll go into a little more detail what all this is. But basically this is going to plug in to the stock ECU and then plug into the engine harness. And essentially it's just giving you this bypass where they've routed in all the additional wiring that's needed for their 3 timing and fuel cards. So these will basically modify what inputs and outputs are going to the stock ECU. So when you're not in boost, it's going to use the stock ECU. So startups, idle, all that stuff will not have changed at all. Be nice and smooth. You won't have to deal with issues there. It's also an additional map sensor, so then when it detects boost, it will add fuel and adjust the timing as needed. So basically, when you're just cruising around and idling, it will be running completely on the stock map, and then as needed, it will add fuel. And then there's a couple extras that were not part of the kit that we're going to add as well. We've got an upgraded radiator, air fuel gauge, upgraded fuel pump. Might not be 100% necessary, but it's almost a 30-year-old fuel pump in here, so we're going to do that. Some exhaust components, and then there's also some additional cooling for the brakes and a front lip that we're going to do as well. So there we go. Hopefully I covered everything. And again, this will be the first in the series, so please make sure that you guys subscribe. We'll have more videos coming out showing different parts of the progress and any tips or issues or anything that we learn along the way. All right, thanks for watching.